Okay, I love introducing incredible people who are making a difference by sharing their passion and just being a huge inspiration. And in a bit, you guys are going to hear from my friend Rachel Rattel. She's an endometriosis warrior. The girl's a woman's health advocate and the founder of Raise Your Vibe. She's a community builder who turned pain into purpose, and she's using dance, storytelling, and advocacy to help people feel seen, help people feel supported, and help people know they're not alone. So you are totally going to feel her heart and her fire in the episode when it comes out. And so I just wanted to share a quick clip where Rachel shares one of my just favorite parts of the conversation. I just want to share it with you. So check it out.
We all have a unique story. Don't be afraid to share it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no expectation, there is no standard. As much as we feel the pressure to meet a standard from society or other people, or even just some narrative we're spinning in our head, come forth as you are, whatever that may look like, and the right people will be there for you.
Okay, wasn't that just amazing? I'm so excited for you to hear the entire conversation. So make sure you check out the episode with Rachel Rattel. And now let's jump back into today's episode. Okay, before we dive in, I want to take a moment and introduce you to the incredible woman behind the Find Your Fuze podcast, which I had the honor of joining them in conversation. So Find Your Fuze is hosted by Brooke and Kelly. They're two powerhouse entrepreneurs who went from total strangers to building multiple businesses together. Find Your Fuze is actually a show for ambitious women who know they're meant for more. Every Thursday, they share real and unfiltered conversations about entrepreneurship, mindset, and making big moves in both life and business. So I met Brooke and Kelly in the Mentor Collective Mastermind with Chris and Lori Harder, and we just hit it off kind of right off the bat, knowing that we wanted to take that conversation even further. So I'm so excited to have been on their podcast. I'm excited for y'all to hear more about them when I have them on mine. But this conversation was really a heart-forward conversation about mental health and dance and how movement really became a pathway to healing and leadership and building community. And we talked about the power of belonging through dance, what really goes on kind of behind the scenes of leading transformative events, and how to redefine success in a way that truly aligns with your values. So let's jump in. Here's my conversation with Brooke and Kelly on Find Your Fuze.
Welcome back to another episode of the Find Your Fuze podcast. Today we are thrilled as we have a new special guest, Adia. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Huge Find Your Fuze welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to chat with you about many things. It's going to be a really fun conversation for anyone who's listening, especially those who have any interest building communities. We're going to be talking about a lot of fun things, but I always like to kick off with you just letting people know, who are you? Who are you? What do you do? What is your business? Tell us all about it. Kelly and I are obsessed with it because we've gotten to hear more because we're all in a mastermind together. But for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name is Adia, and I just want to say wonderful pronunciation. I've heard all the things in my life, but I've learned to really appreciate my name, and it's the first time in my life that people get it right because of my brand. My brand is Adia Dance, and it's really a foundation for a lot of what I do. But how did I get to that? Dance has always really been a part of my life in one way or another, even if it was just me googly eyes over the TV looking at Dancing with the Stars or things like that. Dirty Dancing was one of my favorite movies, but I actually don't have like a technical dance background. I was a gymnast and have a lot of gymnastics ability, but the dance part actually was very unnatural to me. And then after that, I did cheerleading in high school and beyond. And that was a little easier because it's just sharper movements. All that to say, I wasn't really a dancer. Although dance has been something that's been important in my life, it's something that I've always desired and wanted. And I didn't realize it would really be kind of like a saving grace for me. So I could go on for hours about my history, but let me start with about 2016, late 2016, I entered into a really, really deep depression. And basically, I think there's a lot of reasons for why it came to be, but I know that there was a lot of pain and heartache and trauma that I had really shoved down, thinking that I had actually just released or it didn't bother me. So end of 2016, everything came up to the surface, and it was just a tsunami of emotion and like things I didn't even realize I had been coping with or suppressing just came to the surface, and it threw me into a really, really, really dark place. And here I am. I was at the time married probably around 15 years. I have 3 kids. I homeschool my kids. We had just moved about 5 years prior to a home where I would be able to be more at home with the kids, because before, prior to that, I was doing a lot of coaching and teaching of cheerleading. But all that to say, even with like what would look like the perfect life on the outside, I was really, really crumbling and very fast on the inside. And I went through it alone because, well, one reason I can at least speak to is that I didn't feel like anyone, like it was a burden I wanted to put on anyone else. It was so heavy and it was so just traumatic in those moments. And I just was like, everyone else has their own problems. Everyone's going through stuff. It was kind of a lesson I had taught myself because I had lost my dad when I was 15. And I didn't really, it was really devastating. It happened very suddenly. He was young and healthy, and he ended up actually passing away in a free diving accident. But he was really doing what he loved. So there's so much beauty about it. And I think I let that story kind of overshadow the fact that I was really hurting and that I was really I needed to mourn. You know, I was just a kid. And all that to say, the following day, I woke up and the world just kept moving. And it was as if, you know, it's almost as if nothing had happened. And it was everyone just, the clock kept turning and everyone went about their business. And so for me, mentally, I was like, oh, like everyone's got their own stuff. Let me just move forward also. All that to say, that was why I feel like I chose to go through so much of what I went through alone, is because I'm like, nobody cares. Everyone's doing their thing. They have their own trouble. They have their own trauma, and I don't need to be a burden to them. Don't recommend it. I don't recommend this path.
Isn't it crazy how our brains can do that to us? Your story is hitting me directly in my soul, because I would say I respond to depression the same exact way when I've had my own experiences with it. And isn't it interesting how our brains can be dicks, for lack of a better word, and tell us this narrative that you're alone, you're going to be a burden on others if you try to ask for help or just share what you're feeling or just vent about it or cry about it. And I just need to deal with it myself, because the world does keep moving, when in reality, as humans, we need community, which I know blends so beautifully into the fact that you have your own community now. But just there's a lot in that story that I think a lot of people can really relate with, because depression can be very isolating. And you can convince yourself so easily that this is too much to put on someone else. I better keep this to myself. Shove it down. Just keep moving. Everyone else is too. And it's not true.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so open and honest about that. I think that's one thing that people don't talk about. And that's one thing that Brooke and I talk about a lot, because it happens, and it happens so suddenly. And then you realize, oh, I've been literally holding on to this since I was 15 and haven't sat with it. And I think that's just so beautiful of your awareness. And also to be like, yeah, I have a husband and kids in this season of life, and I still feel alone. That is a very hard season to be in, and I thoroughly understand. And I commend you for just opening up and telling us that, because that's beautiful. And the way that you're moving through that and have really lived in that moment to make sure that you are on the other side with grace and ease and love and support for yourself and others, that's so important. So thank you.
Thank you for saying so. There was a long time that I was silent. So during this depression period, I was very quiet. I didn't speak. I mean, I was talking. I was very normal to the outside world, but I wasn't like who I knew that I could be, should be, like who I wanted to be. But all that to say, fast forward a little bit, a couple years into that, and really at the point of despair and hopelessness, like I had 2 options, and one of them was suicide. So, in the midst of that, I walked into my first country bar, and I had fallen in love with country music a couple years prior. I had just like the music, and thought there must be some sort of dance that goes with this. And it just so happened that around me was actually multiple country bars. And I'm like, okay, it's country music, country bar, country dancing. Maybe this is a thing. Had no clue there's a whole world of line dancing and country dance. I had no clue. Like, this was down the street for me. And so I walked in and it was so interesting. It was something like I'd never experienced. They were doing a dance. Okay. It was actually an entertaining dance, first of all. So it wasn't like God bless Cupid Shuffle and God bless the electric slide. But if I thought that that was the extent of line dancing, it wouldn't have really drawn me in. Shout out to Cupid if he does hear this. We chat back and forth. But so when I walked in, the dance drew me in, the music drew me in, but what was so neat was the people. I'm brand new. It's a little joint and they're like, hey, come on over here, come to the dance floor, we'll show you. And they just welcomed me right in. They said, put your stuff right here. You can put it with our stuff. Don't worry, it'll be safe. You know, my so-and-so is sitting here or whatever. And I'm like, you don't even know me. How cool that you're being so welcoming. And then as I went on the dance floor, tried to learn, it was a challenge despite my movement background. It was a challenge because it's just a little bit of a different way of moving. And people were high-fiving and they were congratulating and that's how they were with each other. And I was like, what is the community where like you do a basic dance and everyone is like high on life about it. Everyone's so excited. But that was exactly what I needed to just let me know that like there's something a little bit more. And what I ended up doing was, well, before I left, I had multiple people invite me back and say, are you going to come tomorrow? You know, are you going to come the next day? We have it this day. And I'm like, whoa, like, okay. Like they actually seem to care. And I didn't know if they truly did care, but I'm like, they're pretending like they do at least. So
they're doing a really good job at making me feel welcome.
Absolutely. So I ended up going back and it turned into something where the instructor who was there at the time, she would teach like 4 or 5 lessons. So I very quickly went from knowing 0 dances to knowing about 50 in the course of a month or so. And I would go home and the next morning and I'd wake up and I'd spend like 2 hours just practicing these dances because I recognize, okay, when you know them, you get out and dance more. And I don't like, it's not necessarily about being embarrassed on the dance floor. I know that's a huge thing, and I totally like empathize with everyone who gets a little nervous out there. I just am more like just tripping over myself. I just want to feel more confident in general, and so I would practice. But ultimately, between the music, the dance, but the people, that's what brought me back. And over the course of a couple months, literally just a couple months, I mean, everything started to change in me. The healing started to really occur. And I mean, fast forward, I actually entered my first competition a couple months later. I'm like, what do I have to lose? I literally have nothing to lose. People don't really know me. Who cares? I ended up getting third, which was like a really big deal because they're like, who the heck is this person? Like, and where did she come from?
And you're like, hi, Adia. Nice to meet you.
These videos and I'm like, oh man, like I was like absolutely all out and spastic, and it's totally fine. But it was healing and it was amazing. And then I went to my first convention, and again, the country community was so welcoming, just everywhere that I went. And I remember going to this convention and feeling I was very new. This was now a whole new world. So we went from like the bar to the world of line dance. And this particular convention was one of the biggest in the United States with probably around, I think like 2,000 or 3,000 people, which is really, really big for a line dance convention. But there was these couple people that were like, hey, you know, come sit with me. Hey, come join us here. I'll show you how to do this. And that's huge because you're in a place, you don't know the people, you don't know the dances. And even though in my own little bar world, I had started to get to know people, this was now new. So all that to say, as I healed, as I started to come out of that depression, truly as a result of these experiences, I knew that I wanted to provide these types of experiences and just a container, an atmosphere, a room for people to be able to walk in and have that same kind of interaction with people. Because if it did what it did for me, I know that it could do it for so many other people, even if I never know their names, if I never meet them in person. It doesn't matter if I know their story or not. I know that just by providing this community, this is the type of transformation that's going to happen. So now that is what I do. So I create dance events and conventions and workshops. I travel all around the United States and all around the world. This summer I went to Italy and taught at a really cool convention out there. I've been to Spain, Canada, England, and looking forward to just continuing to share my love and passion of dance. But most importantly, I love sharing a little bit of the story, because I know that there's people in that audience who that's the day they need to hear it. That's the day that it was going to be maybe their last moment, their last hurrah, their last attempt at finding something that might heal them or bring them joy or give them any sort of glimmer of hope. So that's really what I do. And my business is multifaceted at this point. I have dance floors, I do instructor training, I do judges training, I have subscriptions, but ultimately, like, this is the reason for it. Because I'm like, there's another Adia out there who's walking into that space for the very first time. And I want to make sure that no matter what, they feel welcome and accepted, and like it was the right, it's life changing, it's transformational, whether it's because they're on the edge of, whatever precipice, or maybe just had a rough week, or maybe it's the best life ever and they're just continuing to want to make every moment.
Do it. I love that so much. And I think an important piece of your story to point out too is that it was changing your actions and putting yourself in a new place and space and surrounded by new people that helped you get out of that, because I know that's something that's so easy to fall into. Honestly, in life, whether you're going through a depressive moment or just in day-to-day life, it's so easy for us to get lost in the rat race of our days and in the rat race of our to-do lists. And I was even just talking to my husband about this recently of like, oh my God, like when's the last time we went just like have fun and do this one thing? Like everything is always work or business, or like we have this chore to do, or we have this errand to do. We have to go bring the cats to the vet, or whatever it might be. Changing your routine and putting yourself into a new scenario, and it could be a hobby, it could be dancing, it could be painting, it could be whatever. It can truly change your life in so many capacities, because it's pattern interrupting the mundane, and it's pattern interrupting what you do every single day. And a lot of times, if you are feeling down or are feeling overwhelmed or stressed or burnt out, pattern interrupts are really what's going to help get you out of that, because it's changing things. And I just love the community that dance has helped you find through that, and that now you get to extend to people.
Thank you. I totally agree with that. The pattern interrupt it's a key, and I think it can feel like burden is not the right word, but like inconvenience. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that little inconvenience, yes, it might be an inconvenience in the moment, but it could shift things in amazing ways.
Percent.
I love that. Thank you. So before we kick off, just more like questions specifically to you and your background and how you're loving on people through movement and community. Brooke and I love, in the beginning of our episodes, to talk duality, because that's how we live, right? Joy within the sorrow. Like we already went through that a little bit. And so is there a moment that you felt confident and grounded in your leadership, even though no one else knew that was happening?
In my leadership, I would say that as I prepared for the very first convention that I put on, I say convention, and it was, but let's just call it an event. It happened in a volleyball facility. I used pipe and drape to separate the floors.
Love it.
I don't know if it qualifies as a convention,
but you know what? It got done.
It did. Everyone had a great time. Yeah, I think that like at that point in time, I had been gaining popularity or just maybe just acknowledgement, and not from doing anything special, just from meeting people. I would travel and dance. I would travel to different bars all around Southern California. So I just got to know people. I just got to meet people and know them and be in that space. But I don't think they knew me as as a leader. They just knew me as an inspirational person, someone who's nice, a dancer that's entertaining or whatever it might have been. So as I was kind of preparing for that leadership role and like already kind of stepping into it with all that planning, I definitely think that it was a surprise to a lot of people that I suddenly like was kind of almost elevated myself into this leadership position by being the director, at that time I had a co-director also. So being a director at that time though. It was a journey for sure for me And it even still is sometimes when it comes to accepting that like I'm in a leadership position and people who knew me beforehand, like learning or having to make a choice. Like, are they going to kind of acknowledge, accept that, or are they going to reject that and say, who is this? Who is she to do this? Who is she to get to make this type of rules or whatever it is?
Totally.
Who does she think she is? Yeah. I think that's kind of another fun duality of it. Like a lot of times when we're experiencing these super high highs and like achieving all of these things, there can be an imposter syndrome moment or another person trying to tear down. And it's important to acknowledge, be aware, and note how you respond to those situations because that will help you only continue showing up more confidently.
Yeah, there was actually a moment that is what actually built this brand, the All Out As Is brand. And it was exactly what you said, Brooke. I actually had a couple, just very small amount of people, but sometimes the negative naysayers they're screaming in your ears.
Yes.
And I remember being pulled aside at one of my favorite places to dance, and this person just spent 2 hours telling me all about myself and my selfishness and how I'm showing off. And one question that I asked myself, and I have been asked, why did you sit there and listen to it? I was honestly in complete disbelief at what was happening. I was like, what is actually going on? And all that to say, like, this person, I believe they're hurting. I believe that they were projecting whatever it was that was in them onto me. So if I had to be the receiver of it, that was like my role in that, then so be it. That's what the universe had for me. But what happened as a result of that, knowing my intention at the time was survive. Like, just continue to do this because this is a good thing that is taking me further. Exactly. It's taking me further from where I was about to be headed. And so I decided to turn that negativity, that criticism into a brand and let that be my brand. And so my brand was originally called All Out Dance with Adia. And that just meant I was going to continue to just be free, let my body flail, spaz, whatever was happening on the dance floor. But because that freedom was really allowing me to discover my true authentic self, the person that I had suppressed for so long. So that's kind of where this comes from. And now I try to encourage people constantly, every day, all day, to live all out, dance all out, dream all out, whatever that looks like for them. And then the as is means you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and we're all on a journey to becoming the best version of ourselves. But right now, here in this moment, this is exactly as you should be. And so let that be okay and be confident in who you are because you are exactly who you're meant to be in this moment. So yeah, you talked about responding to that negativity, and I was thankful for that opportunity because it gave me the opportunity right back to respond this way. Back then it was really just a name, you'd see it on my Instagram, and now it is a full-on, it's a movement. And I even have now All Out Wellness, which is my my mindset and wellness, mental health part of what I do with dance, and just kind of combining all that together because I really want to help people to heal on the dance floor, but also off the dance.
I love that because it's all connected. It's all a circle. It all works with each other. I love it, and I love the name, and it really rolls well. All out as is. Just go dance all out as is. Live all out as is. And I think it encompasses everything you do and who you are and the mission of your brand really, really well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as we're on this topic, if you're watching us on YouTube, she's wearing a cutie shirt with the brand name on, which we love. Just as we're on this topic, can you tell us when that pivot happened of all out dance moments into the podcast? Like, what happened there? How did that start?
Thank you for asking. So when I was in the depression, I was silent. I had been a very inspirational person in general. Like, I thank God for making me just optimistic. It's just kind of my nature. But during that time, I really just kind of retreated, and I did a lot of like kind of watching and listening, and I didn't share, and I wasn't that like encouraging coach and cheerleader, and as I healed, first on the dance floor, like really my healing, I really feel like it occurred there. There's so many different reasons for that. But then as I came off the dance floor and I started doing like a deeper healing and the inner child healing and going, just trying to sift through a lot of the things that I had suppressed. And I was starting to come on the other side of that and really gaining so much hope and so much momentum, and really just feeling like my voice was coming back, and knowing that now I had even more of a story to share that might help other people who are maybe just entering that phase, or maybe have been through it and, are at the end of their rope, whatever their story is. I knew that me starting to share would help someone else. And so that's why I decided to do the podcast. And I think in my intro, it says something about like, these are my stories, my lessons learned, my experiences. And the goal is for people to see themselves in my story and find hope and restoration and transformation through what I'm able to share, being one little step ahead potentially from where someone else is at in their journey. I love Brene Brown's quote where she says, one day you're going to tell the story of how you got through what you went through, and it's going to be someone else's survival guide. And I just feel so much so that, like, that's so true. And I'm so thankful for all the people who share their stories and share their journeys, because theirs has been my survival guide. And that's why I started the podcast, just to start talking, to start sharing. There's so many things I've learned, and I continue to learn, and I'm just excited to be able to continue to use my voice. And these are things that are not always easy to talk about. A lot of the subjects that at least are in my mind, some of which I've shared so far, some of which I will share in the future, they're not easy, but like, that's exactly why I think we should be talking about them. Because otherwise, as we talked about before, you go into this place of isolation. You think you're the only one going through it. And sometimes I think it takes hearing specific stories to be able to really relate. Because sometimes it's like, yeah, but they had this or they had that. That's not my story. So I think the more I share my story, and, we all share our stories, there will be people who can relate, and it will help them become that next best version of themselves.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that is very true. There is something about hearing someone's story, or a specific nuance of their story, or a specific characteristic that they had, that can sometimes just be the thing that makes you hear it differently and actually listen and actually go, I'm not alone. Because I've heard so many, I'm a huge podcast listener, huge reader. Like, I love all of these things. Self-help is my favorite topic. So the amount of books that I've read, the amount of podcasts that I listened to, and many people have shared their journeys through depression or anxiety, or building a business and the highs and lows of that, or, whatever their struggles may have been, and celebrations. And not all of them resonate the same, ever. Because there's always this piece, like you said, where it's like, oh, well, they had this upper hand. I'm not, like, that's not going to work for me the way that person did, or whatever it might be. So I think more people sharing their stories and sharing the specific nuances that make yours unique, not just like, I have depression, period. But like, this is what that's looked like for me. This is where it's felt in my body, and this is how I responded to that. If one is comfortable sharing, of course, it can really be very powerful for people. Mantra that I always tell myself when going through hard moments, because I loved your mention of being able to share, like, the story that you're going through, or you sharing your story can be someone's survival guide. I always remind myself in those hard moments that, like, this is going to be really good for the plot of my book one day. It kind of lightens it up a little bit in those moments where you're like, God, life's hard right now. God, a lot of stuff isn't working. And it's like, well, this is going to be good for the book. It's going to be real good. It's going to help someone.
Yeah, Brooke and I say that a lot of, like, one day we're going to be on stages talking about this, like, this direct issue that we're having. I think my favorite thing about just storytelling in general is it's one of the main reasons why I love music, because music can hit people in different ways, different genres, different moments in time. And so your newer love of country music, it really hit me because I've been a country music lover forever. And so for me, it was such a cool thing to, like, hear that was able to give you joy in a different way. And then the same with dance. Like, dance is also storytelling in a different way. And so the fact that you're using music, dance, and your words that you suppressed for so long for bettering the world, like, for me, I'm so emotional about that. I think that's so lovely. And so thank you. In general, just thank you.
Yes. What was the, like, segue song for you that got you into country music? Do you have one that you, like, think back to and you're like, when this comes on?
Yes, I do. And it's funny because I almost mentioned it earlier, and I was like, well, I'll just save it. So I love that you asked. So the song that I remember that, like, was that segue song was Wanted by Hunter Hayes. And I think
good
it's
one.
kind of interesting because now that I was actually thinking about just the other day, I'm like, why did I love that song so much? Like, what about it like really hit me? And I think that song almost like made me feel seen by this person who I have no idea who he is. He's got no idea who I am, but for some reason, the lyrics of that song where he wanted to make her feel wanted. And for me, I was just like, wow, like having thought that my story didn't really matter to anyone. I didn't want to be a burden to anyone, to like have these lyrics. That's really, I think, what hit home was just this desire to be not just wanted, but just like cared about, cared for. And again, not saying that the people in my life didn't, they did the best they absolutely could with what they knew. But I needed something so much deeper at that time. So yeah, that was the song that I go back to that will bring tears to my eyes if I hear it.
That's beautiful.
I love that music can do that. It really can. Like I attribute certain songs to certain eras of life and different things. And it's crazy the emotional response that you can have in that moment when you hear that first chord of that song come on. So that is beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's so neat that artists share their hearts and they share what's on their mind, whether it's a songwriter, the artist, whoever is writing the song. But it's like such a beautiful thing because they don't know the massive impact that those words have on people. The reason I love country music, for the most part, is just so positive and family oriented and love oriented and live your life and to the fullest, carefree, like, white magnolias in your hair, feet up on the dash. Like I love that. I love just the feeling of that, and I think that I just commend everyone for sharing their voice in that way. One of my events is called Nashville Dance Fest. It's actually coming up in September. As you come check it out, but we actually incorporate a lot of live artist music, and so we call them our honky tonk legends. It's a lot of times it's like up and coming artists, but we also have some pretty well known people. But I love, like, as you're saying, Kelly, telling the story telling your story through movement, through dance, and while the artist is telling their story through the song, the lyrics, the music, the instruments, and we're all just like doing this big storytelling, place together. It's so beautiful. It's such a neat experience.
That's something I'm obsessed with about live music in general. There is nothing cooler to me than being in an arena or a house of blues. It can be small or big. It does not really matter. Being in any venue where a live artist is playing and it's yourself and so many people around you, and you don't know Bob from Gin. Like, I don't know all of these people, but we're all here for this shared moment, enjoying this person's story and all having our own separate experiences of it, but it's also this really cool like collective community moment. And I feel like, especially since COVID, but just in life, that you don't find that every single day, and there is so much beauty and energy that happens in those moments. So the more you can find those places and spaces and communities for that, the better, because there's so much beauty in rooms like that.
Yeah, I was a classically trained dancer for many years of my life. And so when I get to go, even now, as a fully fledged adult who doesn't dance like that anymore, when I get to go to a ballet, I'm one of the people that are like sobbing at the end. And it's only an orchestra, right? Like no one is talking, no one's telling a story, but you get to watch how the dancers portray the story. And it just gets me every single time. I think that's one thing that even line dancing in general can teach people too, is like, sure, there's parts of it that are that's repetitive, but you get so excited every time. You're like, yeah, of course I'll be back tomorrow. I'm so excited. And I think dance is such a beautiful way to do that. So amazing. I love that.
Dance the same exact songs night after night after night, year after year.
And still happy. I love it.
Everyone still gets pumped to dance to the same song coming on, Also just a moment in time. And there is a whole conversation I'm sure can also be had about the healing that happens because of the physical movement that you're doing. Like there's so much to somatic healing and nervous system regulation that can be got into on that half. That could be its own episode, but it's really interesting.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I loved what you said about like the concerts and not knowing Jim from Bob, but also it's so neat, like when you add that dance element, because now you're doing this thing together. And then when we include partner dancing, you're dancing with strangers that you don't know, but you're having this connection, this moment. And the thing about it is that you don't have to be an amazing dancer to have this kind of experience. at all. Like, you can be brand new and still get as much value and such a great experience from the opportunity that these dance type of communities provide. Wherever you're at, 2 left feet, 5 left feet, like, it's all very, very doable. And if it's calling at your soul, like, it's there for a reason. Let's check it out.
I adore that. That is the fun thing about line dancing. It is so much more beginner friendly. I always joke that if I could have any talent in the world that God did not give me, it would be dancing. Because I'm like, I always look at like performers on stage, or like a mix of like singing and dancing. Like when I was little, I always was like, I want to be famous one day. Don't want to be famous, but little Brooke only understood having a different life than like the typical 9 to 5 as like that. So that's what she translated it as. But I can't sing, and I definitely have like 4 left feet. So I can appreciate the not ease, because I know it can still be challenging to learn those dances, but the beginner friendly instruction that line dancing can give. And I think that makes it even more welcoming to communities, because I look at like contemporary dancers and hip hop dancers on TikTok. I watch them all the time, and I'm like, wow, I would look like a dying seal if I tried to do that. So one thing I was going to ask you earlier is, you mentioned the Nashville convention coming up. Can you plug it right here and let everyone know where it is, how to find it, and all of that fun stuff before we get into other questions?
Oh my gosh, yes, and thanks for asking. So Kickstart Country is my main event company. It's kind of the umbrella. We have multiple different events all around the country, from California. The Edge Dance event happens in Temecula in the spring. Shoreline and Country Swing that happens in Florida in the summer. But coming up right now, we have Nashville Dance Fest. That is our biggest fall convention, and it is so much fun. So we have the foundation of the event is learning, because we believe that the more you know, the more fun it is, because you get to dance more and you get to, up level your skill set, feel more confident, do cool things, all that stuff. So it is September 5th through 7th. It happens. And there's always a pre-party. If we ever say a date, always plan the day before, and don't even think about leaving on Sunday. Like, take Monday off. So we have a pre-party the day before. We'll be in downtown Broadway at Cat 10, which is a really iconic dance hall down there. And then the whole weekend, you'll have lessons from line dance, two-step, country swing, West Coast swing. We do dips and tricks and lifts and aerials. And we've got our beginner bungalow for all of our brand new friends to come out and dance and really take things from the very basic level, and build your confidence there, to advanced. And we've got staff that come from all over the nation, actually all over the world this time. We have Spain and Italy represented. I believe we may have Canada. Don't quote me on that one, though. But for sure, we've got Spain and Italy represented. And then there's even things like competitions that, if you're not interested in being a part of, they are just wildly entertaining. We have our Honky Tonk Showdown, World Championship Showdown, which is, we've got teams who are bringing their best routines. We've got partners who are bringing their best. And so it is just a blast. And then in addition, as I mentioned, we have live music. We've got a big old concert, all of the lights. We've got Dancing Under the Stars with our stage dance floor. And so it is just a full jam-packed weekend of fun. You will have your brain fried, I can promise you that, but it will feel amazing. And anyone who comes to learn, wherever you start, you can plan on about 10 levels up. Just, you will feel so, so confident. And the cool thing is, you meet people from all over the United States, all over the world, people who share this passion, people who are your next door neighbor. You didn't even realize that they were interested in this as well. So, so Nashville Dance Fest, September 5th through 7th. Come on the 4th, leave on the 8th. And it's going to be an amazing time. And if you do end up coming and you did hear this podcast, I would absolutely love to meet you. So please come say hi, no matter how busy I look, okay? Because I will always look busy. But
there's always something to do when putting on an event.
So happy. Yeah, but so that and Kickstart Country, those are from there. If you can't make it to Nashville, there's other places. And then I also, if it's okay, I'll for all of my friends who are like you, Brooke, I've got 4 left feet and I wish God would give me this ability. I've got a program for you, okay? It's called Country Dance Simplified, and we simplify it all down one step at a time, and then we take those little puzzle pieces and we make the dances, and next thing you know, you're out there like everybody else. So if anyone's interested in that, Country Dance Simplified is a program that I created for all of our new friends.
I love it.
A fun question that kind of popped in my mind as you were talking about all over the world, all over the country. The one cool thing about community and finding something that everyone is aligned on and all has this common interest, even though we've all come from a million different walks of life and backgrounds. Now that you've traveled not just all over this country, but into other countries, Spain, Italy, as you mentioned, what have been like your biggest things you've noticed in community all over the world? Like, has there been anything you've noticed between the people who come to the events here versus the one in Spain versus Italy? Like, what has been your experiences putting on events that way?
Great question. So one of the favorite experiences is really just seeing like the differences in culture and language. Being someone who didn't really travel growing up, as an adult, like real life, different languages, full communities who don't speak English has been really neat. And it's neat that at the same time we all do speak this universal language. The universal language of joy, when we're seeing not just smiles, but like eyes light up. That aha moment, like it looks the same no matter where I'm at, when people just like have those moments where it clicks. And then just the way that people love on each other and support each other is so neat to see. It was, well, on my trip to Italy, the main languages spoke at this convention was a little bit of English, but Italian, French, and German, and Spanish. Those were the 4 languages. I speak English pretty well, I think. Speak un po' di Italiano and un poquito de Español. And the only thing I can say in German is alles good, which means all is good. It's like my favorite word in German.
I can say that one now too.
All is good.
Thank you.
I love learning new things.
And my maiden name Tedesco means German in the language of Italian. So okay, that's all. That's what I got. That's my triangle of.
Interesting.
But what was really cool was that while I was in Italy and I had all these, I'm like, wow, so many of the things that are coming out of my mouth, people do not understand. But I asked for a translator. I asked for like a Spanish and a French translator and an Italian, like just tell this to the people. And I told them about how they were created so uniquely and how important it was that they were here and how important it is that they live their life and dance all out their way and just live all out their way, because that's meant to be a gift. And to know that message, like our messages, is what's universal. And I think that that's just like a really cool thing. Like as much as maybe the language barrier or words don't mean the same thing, when we have a message and we share our heart, that's able to be communicated like cross-cultural. And then what's really neat is in line dancing, we, although we count in different languages, a lot of times the terminology is the same. So I can go and I can say rock step, and everyone knows what to do. And I could say triple or coaster step. And there's some words that, like, for example, there's a move called a wizard step, but it's also called a Dorothy step. So you kind of get that little Wizard of Oz feel. So there may be little slight differences, but that's something that's super neat about line dancing. You could go to any country and that is going to be a constant in their teaching. So you will be able to pick things up no matter where you are.
It's really cool.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's
And
really
honestly,
cool.
that's the power of community, because that's how that's happening. It's people from all over the world just kind of connecting on these points and coming up with the consistent terminology for it. And I'm sure it's evolved in some ways over time, but I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I was relieved because I'm like, again, don't speak the other language.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a pit of anxiety, a little bit of like, I know I'm born to do this and I want to serve people this way, but oh my gosh, what if they can't understand me and I look silly? That is probably one fear that I would have, is like, well, I'm going to show up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you did that. I think that's really amazing. Is there any advice you would give someone who is starting out or coming to one of your events or anything like that, regardless if they are a novice or a professional?
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite advice to give is to remember that your journey is your own and that every single person started at the beginning and that everyone has had a different journey leading up to this moment. So we can't compare our one day or our 1 week to someone else's 1 week, because what happened before that may be very, very different. So the most important thing is to just focus on yourself. Know that consistency will breed results. So the more you just keep coming, keep showing up, in your own way, it will work out and you will be successful and have so much fun. And we cheer for the people to our right and our left, and we high five the people to the front and the back, but we don't need to compare ourselves to them because there's just literally no comparison. Just enjoy your journey and start right where you are.
Perfect.
That's a message. Yeah, that's a message I feel like that can be brought into every facet of life, not even just line dancing, because it is so easy to get lost into the comparison trap. And, especially with social media these days, it's a highlight reel and we're constantly watching everyone else's success, which is beautiful, but it can make it feel very lonely when you're like, oh, I haven't achieved that yet, and why are they ahead of me? So I think that's a beautiful reminder for quite literally anyone listening, doing anything in their life. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's a big saying for a reason. Be where your feet are and focus on your own journey, and you'll get to where you want to go.
Okay, so question, how would you define success in this season of life than when you started your dance journey?
So the way that I would define success in this season, I have really been enjoying creating the moments that I want to live versus just kind of letting life happen. So when I first started this dance journey, it was me kind of like seeking out and making things happen, which is, I think, was really important in that part of my journey. And then it was also, okay, just seeing kind of what showed up in front of me. So there was that portion of the journey where it was like, okay, I'm not trying to open any doors. I'm just waiting to see what doors present themselves. And if they open, then I walk through. And now I'm really in a more like a space where I'm really wanting to curate like the way that my days, like the way that my life looks. And so I'm okay to actually not be out dancing as much as I once was, because it's okay that I would prefer to spend more time with my boyfriend, with my family, with my kids, to incorporate them in different ways in my business, but ultimately to really just curate my time in a way that feels the most aligned. So what I learned through my healing journey was Adia aligned is like the most joyful, effective, efficient. I mean, all of the business terms, but all just the life and love terms. Like I get to be most alive when I'm showing up exactly how I want to be. So I do that differently now versus showing up how I think people want me to be or need me to be. I am just doing a lot more showing up as exactly as I want.
Say it louder for the people in the back. That's so good. That's so good. And to be where your feet are and be happy about that moment to moment, I think is so, so beautiful. And I loved the idea that's aligned is a happy idea. Like, if you're feeling out of alignment, it's so easy to just keep being out of alignment. And so even just to have the awareness of I'm not feeling how I want to, and taking steps to fix that within the moment to moment as is beautiful.
Yeah, and it is that moment to moment, because there's definitely a good time in my life where I was doing what I would say was all the right things, and I was blooming where I was planted, but I didn't necessarily want to be planted there. So I was making the most with what I had, and I commend my younger self for doing so, and I commend all of you who are listening for doing so, but I think there's a better way. I think the better way for me is to do what does light me up, what does feel aligned for me, and then blooming even more there versus doing my best to make a situation that I really didn't want to be in work. And that's really, I feel like I don't know if that's countercultural, but it was definitely not what I was taught, or at least my understanding of the world as I grew up. So it was like, here's what you're given, make the most of it. These are the cards that are dealt, you should be grateful. This is how it is. I'm like, no, like I'm going to make it how I want it to be.
I think countercultural is definitely accurate, actually, because I feel like similarly in society, we're often taught that there is a way of doing things. And once you get that corporate job or whatever it is for you, you stay at that company and you work up the ladder, and you have the white picket fence, and you have the husband or wife, and you have the babies, and you do all the things. And like, this is how life should look. And it doesn't often welcome questioning or stepping out of line or stepping off to the beaten path. recognizing that and realizing like, okay, I'm blooming where I'm at, but no, I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else. And like giving yourself the permission to be like, I'm going to do this differently than what everyone says I should be doing. I'm going to do the exact opposite of what everyone thinks I should be doing. And realizing there's actually more freedom, success, joy, love, abundance, and all of those things on the other side of that, I think is a beautiful share, because I know I had a similar experience of like doing what I was told, like the grand scheme of society, even though there was always a deeper knowing of wanting more or wanting something different and wanting what, just wanting something different. And it took some years before I finally found the courage to make that leap of faith and go after those bigger dreams. But the freedom and feeling that's on the other side when you finally do is truly incredible.
Yeah, I love that you shared that. The imagery that comes to mind is being like a little canoe trying to get past the break into like the open ocean. And for so long, like being on the sand, that's where I'm planted, that's easy, that's doing the right thing, doing what I'm supposed to do. And then there's that tumultuous time where you're trying to get past the waves. And for me, I thought on the other side of this fight is going to be sharks and danger and solitude. This is kind of what I thought, like, but I was so miserable on the sand that when I made the decision to get into the water, and it was so scary. And I thought, like, for everyone who's thinking, yeah, but I don't want to ruin my life. I don't want to get struck by lightning. I like nothing could ever be as good as I have it now. Like, that's just not the truth. The truth is the best is yet to come. And instead of the sharks and the isolation, I found the most like beautiful paradise on the other side of those waves. And I really didn't expect that. I was ready for whatever came at the other end of it. But I was so thankful. Oh my gosh, there's so much more. And I get to be so much more alive and inspire and encourage so many people just because now I'm choosing to live as authentically as I possibly can. So, and there's definitely days that the younger version of myself may remind me of where I was, but I know the future version of myself is like, no, keep coming this way. You're doing great. Absolutely. You're on the right path. You are divinely guided right now. Just keep walking, keep moving, keep swimming.
Yeah, I love it.
I always like to think, those moments that you have as you're on your journey and you're trying to like figure out if you're doing the right thing, are you going the right way? Like, I know I'm going off the beaten path here. I'm scared. I'm in these waters that are uncharted. Those moments where you just like feel a knowing that like, this is what I need to do. I don't know why. I don't have a very solid reason to give you as to why I'm feeling this. I just know that like in my gut, it's the right move. I always like to think about it as, time is made up in so many capacities. Time is not linear. It's all happening around us at the same time. I always think it's my future self in those moments, just sharing her past memory with me in that moment of just like, hey, you're getting this because like it's already happened and it's already went well. Like this is what that felt like. And I think that's like a fun settling thing to think about sometime.
Yeah. I always think of like, you know what? God wouldn't put it on my heart if it wasn't meant to be. Like, why would I go down that way? Why would I get divorced? Why would I want to move cross country? Why would I want to start this business and then another one and then pivot and decide to have a partnership? Why do I want a podcast? That all seems wild. And then you realize, okay, but this is my journey and I have my own way to love on other people and serve in the world. God's putting that on my heart. So go ahead. And it's going to be scary. But like you both are saying, like, there is a version of you that's like, you can do this. Like, you're so close. Like, you can do this. I did this. Everything is good in future Kelly sense. And I think that's so dang important for people to hear. And if you're listening and if you're in one of those seasons of, it is hard right now and I don't know what I should do, but like my gut is kind of telling me to go over here, but that's the scarier way. I say go for it. Like, get in that canoe and go full-fledged forward because we've all done it and it's terrifying. But then you get on the other side and you're like, wow, there's like rainbows and butterflies over here. Who knew?
Circling back to the topic of duality that we started this episode with, you mentioned, we talked about your positive, so the opposite side, you have built this incredible dance community. And that's what we've talked about for this whole fun conversation. What has been your biggest challenge when it comes to building a community, especially one like yours that has such a physical component to it? Like this isn't a digital community online. This is something that like, there's spaces that you have to rent. There's all of this stuff that goes into it. So what has been your biggest challenge throughout your journey?
So one of the challenges that kind of I would say most tugs at my heart is the inability to control that community and that environment, at least to the fullest. So I do my best to create a positive environment. Again, going back to that welcoming, I want everyone to feel this certain way. I want everyone to have these experiences. But the reality is, I'm also not in control of everyone's behavior and everyone else's actions. So I think that's been a little challenging, like doing everything that I can to create just a positive community. And these communities, it's a little bit of everywhere. It's at the events. It's just in the way that I show up. It's in when I'm instructing. It's the people who go out, who I've hired, or the people who come in from wherever they're at. So it's very, very, very far-fetched in all different directions. But I've been through a couple situations where there was such ugly negativity that was just energy sucks, and it's the kind of stuff that just makes you not want to be a part of it, not want you to be involved. And I just wish I had a magic wand to just constantly cleanse the air of that negativity, also recognizing that those people are probably really, really hurting, and so that's why they do what they do. But that's been one of the biggest challenges. So what I do to combat that is just continue to consistently show up as me, encourage, inspire, and also kind of require my staff to be a certain way so that at least anyone who comes into their energy field, their aura, their space, their class, whatever it is, they're going to get like what it is that I'm hoping to put off. And I hear that as feedback. I hear that my events feel different. They're like, I don't even like, yeah, you both had classes, you both had this, you both had that, but yours just feels different. And I'm like, cool, that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm hoping happens, because I can't control so many other things. And it has led to having to make some significant cuts, whether it's in relationship, partnership, or in just like not allowing certain people or things to be a part of what we're doing, which is really hard because I feel for their soul and their heart. And also I feel like I have a responsibility to protect the space that everyone is coming into as well. That's been a challenge I've gone through that I feel like I'm actually kind of on the other end of, thank God, because there was definitely a very tumultuous period. And I'm like, I am not, like, I don't like drama. It feels like I like drama, but how much drama is, right? I really don't. But for National Dance Fest, our slogan is actually all boogie, no drama. We're like, leave it. This is your haven.
I love it.
Haven. We get it. Life is happening. That you may walk in here, it's the worst day of your life. You may walk in, it's the best day. But here, all boogie, no drama. And it's so neat to see that slogan, that phrase, just being repeated, it being just like a part of people's vernacular. Same thing with the all out as is. And then our Kickstart motto is motto mantra. It's good times, good vibes, good people. So like this is what we're always wanting to put forth no matter what else is going on. So it can definitely be a struggle and a challenge. And I really don't like having to like put my foot down on anything that does intrude on that. But I think that protecting that peace is one of the hardest, most challenging things that I do. And it's a constant. It is something that has to constantly be done. And I wish, in a sense, there's a part of me that wishes that people could see that, and that they see that it's not just peaceful. It takes work for you to enter this atmosphere, but that's kind of one of the slightly thankless jobs of being a leader.
Yeah. That's honestly why I love conversations like this, because we get to talk about that kind of stuff. And as business owners or even non-business owners listening, kind of realizing all of the stuff that goes into creating any experience for anyone. It's so much more than just saying, hey, here's the time, here's the date, I got the playlist, let's go. There's so much more to it that comes into creating a community that really does feel different and has that different experience when someone walks through the door. I know it's probably one of those in the moment where you're like, man, I wish people could like see how much this really is. And also I hate having this conversation because hard conversations suck, and they always do. But that's what these spaces are for, to talk about that more, so people, when they're in those seasons, don't feel so alone in them.
Yeah, and I think there is an important thing to note out, just so people who are listening and loving on your story, I think it shows the integrity as a human being for you, that you want to create such a magical space for people.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I had a compliment the other day that was really touched my heart, because this person said that they had gone to an event that at one point I had started it and I had chose to leave. But they said, I want you to know that there's a lot of that still feels like you. And that was really cool to hear, because I actually came out with a recent podcast about just the idea that sometimes we plant gardens that one day we will no longer tend, but the garden will still exist. So I'm just so thankful that these gardens are still blooming and flourishing and people are enjoying, even if I'm not the tender anymore.
That's amazing, especially as you grow, to keep that really your heart as it always was, and not letting that go, because that's why we have a why, right? That we stick to, and it's so deep and it's so ingrained, and you get to touch people with that, and knowing and hearing from someone else being like, I still feel like it's still how it was. I'm sure, I can only imagine hearing that. That's probably one of the best compliments you've probably received in a really long time.
Yeah, it was really personal and really special.
Amazing.
Exactly what I would hope. But yeah, she's like, it feels like you.
I love that. That's so magical. So to close out our episodes, what we ask every single guest at the end is, if you were going back and you're sitting across from your younger self before this whole journey, before line dancing in general, what would you tell her today?
So I would tell young little Adia that everything is working out exactly as it should. All these little things that you understand or that you don't understand, that make sense and that don't make sense, like it's all working out. So live in the moment. I feel like there were so many times that I was just ready for the next thing. I was ready for the next moment. I mean, something as simple as being on a camping trip and like, I can't wait to go home. Like, just live in that camping trip. Bugs, porta potties, holes in the ground, whatever. That's how my camping looked as a kid.
Right. We'll never get those camping trips back, wrong or the other way. So.
Yes. For whatever reason, or for just the sake of time, we will never get it back. But just, to live in it and to know that all those dreams in my heart, they're on their way. And I still telling my current self that as well, or those are all on their way, but just to live in the moment, to fully embrace these moments and know that it's all going to work out, and to continue to follow your heart. I wish I could tell myself to live in those moments. I really do. Well, I'm telling her now.
Yeah.
Right? Adia, really, thank you. Thank you for your time today. Can you tell everyone where the best place to find you is? We'll obviously put all of that in the show notes, but where can people love on you?
Thank you for asking. So for the most part, I am Adia Dance on all the platforms. So ADIA Dance, and Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. And then if I missed any, if I did, just check out Adia Dance. If it says a promo code has to do with country, just try it. You never know, it might work. And then my email, because it wasn't available, is dance.
Amazing.
Oh yeah. So Adia Dance is kind of the hub. You'll be able to find kind of the different things I'm doing from there. You'll see my other companies and be able to find out where else. And I've got a calendar on my website and things like that. So Adia Dance, I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love you in my DMs, send a message, and huge, huge, huge thank you to you, Brooke and Kelly, for having me here on your beautiful podcast. And I can only imagine the stories that are coming after me, and I'll have to go back and listen to all the stories from before as well, because these are great conversations you guys are having.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is valuable, so we appreciate you coming on and sharing what your fuse is and how you're finding it. That's really important to us, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. And if this episode brought you clarity, gave you a shift, or helped you feel more alive, I'd love it if you shared it with a fellow leader, dreamer, or visionary in your life. I always love hearing what resonates with you, so please feel free to send me a DM, and it would mean so much to me if you left a 5-star review to help more people find this space. If you're ready to take this deeper, check the show notes for ways we can work or grow together, whether you're leading from a stage, in your community, or in your own healing. Just remember this. Your power isn't in who you're trying to become, it's in who you already are. So keep showing up, keep moving forward, and keep living all out as is.